Let's talk reading wrap up June 2024. Hello everyone, welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Kris, and today's video is a somewhat small reading wrap up of June 2024. Before we jump into the video today, make sure you're checking out the description box down below for links to my social media and Discord should you want to come along for the ride. Now, in the month of June, I had a few things going on. I had some mental health stuff. I was away for work. I was trying to finish my book, well, the first draft of my book. So it didn't leave a whole lot of time for reading. And as a result, I have 5 reads to talk to you about today. And one of those I technically finished on the 1st of July, but because it was the first and I had like 30 pages left, I'm just going to include it in this wrap up. I will say we have fully started the low by year. I've already bought, I think, 4 books, but they were ebooks. One was a deal, it's fine. I spent like $3 and we have a budget. But what will happen going forward is in these wrap-ups, I haven't decided whether I'm going to put it at the very beginning or the very end. It's going to be a short section on what I've actually spent for accountability's sake and if any donations have happened and things of that nature and where I got books. So I haven't decided if I'm going to do like little book hauls in each of these wrap-ups because I won't be buying a whole lot within the confines of the budget that I have, or whether I just save that and do like maybe quarterly book hauls, or maybe even just save it all up and do a big one at the end of the year. But we'll see how we go. We do have a few events coming up in this quarter, like my birthday and a trip to Brisbane. So, and also we're going away for our 3rd year wedding anniversary, and there's a cool bookshop in the city. We'll see. We'll see what happens, but I appreciate any thoughts and prayers for me sticking to this budget for the low by year. Anyway, let's jump into what I read in the month of June. So the first up and my book of the month is going to be The Council of Athyzia. I did start this one technically in May and finish it in the month of June. I took this one to Sydney with me when I went away for work, and it's just fantastic. It's such a fresh take of political fantasy. So this book is literally a council. We are following what happens at the end of an event that we normally follow in a fantasy book. If that sounds confusing, I'll go a little bit more into depth. The Osmomancer is the big bad in this world, and I'm sorry if I did not pronounce that correctly to D.H. Hoskins. But anyway, all of these fantasy races and towns and cities have been fighting this war against this big bad for 25 years. Once he's been defeated, what do we do then? How do we keep the peace? And this book really goes into detail about what that looks like. So we follow quite a few characters, but at the heart of it is Snorri and Norvina, who are attempting to create a council to essentially keep the peace. But there's like 25 groups of different fantasy races and factions and all that going on, and peace just isn't all that easy to come by when you have so many people and so many groups with opposing views or slightly different ideas of how to do things come together. So drama unfolds. This was like I said, a fresh take on political fantasy. I absolutely loved it. It may be my read of the year so far, and I just want more people to go and check it out so that we can talk about it when you go ahead and pick up this book. So that is the first one off the bat for the month of June. The next one I read was another arc, which I'm sorry I didn't get to in time, but I have read and reviewed it now, and that is Help, My Dog is the Chosen One. This is by Ronit J. This is a really charming story following a gentleman called Kunal who lives in Mumbai and is riddled with anxiety. His girlfriend turns up one day with a basket that holds a dog. Little does Kunal know that this dog is key to saving the world and is the chosen one. We have a fun little tale full of interesting tidbits. It's full of culture from the author and their life over in India, and it's charming. There's a lot happening to it. It's fast paced, and it had me giggling a couple of times. So I had a really good time with that one. And again, another one I hope people give a shot because it was fun. The next one I picked up was for an interview here on the channel, which was A Killer and a King by Tom Dumrell. Tom's witty and short, sharp prose gets me every time. This is a murder mystery. I think it's been marketed as a fantasy murder mystery, and the reason for that is there is some fantastical world building elements. It is not our own world, but it is very low on fantasy. Don't go into this book expecting you're going to get dragons or elves or dwarves or anything like that. Go to the Council of Athyzia for those different races. With this one, it is more very much the murder mystery, and we're following along with this Agatha Christie-esque tale. It's fun. There are twists and turns, and you don't really know what's going to happen right until the end, which is, it's part of the fun. But what happens here is there is some world building elements, which is taken from fantasy stories in terms of we want that depth, we want to know more about the world. And I thought it was quite a fun way to build into this murder mystery sort of plot that we're going with. Had a really good time with it. Again, Tom really excels in the short stories, so I think the book comes in at about 260 to 270 pages. It is something that you can fit in a couple of different sittings, and it was a good time. Another book that I've been meaning to pick up for a very long time, and thank you for being so patient with me, Brian Wilson, is going to be The Forsaken Planet, which I'll put up here. This was also a lot of fun, and more fun than I thought it was going to be, because I don't normally gravitate towards sci-fi. I have been more and more in the recent years, but I heard about this one and wanted to jump on, and the author kindly sent me a copy. This is sci-fantasy at its finest. It's, like I said, it's a lot of fun. I quite like the sci-fantasy blend. We're dealing with a young group of people. Their hometown on Earth has been invaded by these species. We have the Heart of the Flame, who thinks he is the son of the prophet. We also have the Wielder on Earth, which is our main character, Colton. I'm hoping I remembered his name correctly, who also happens to wield on Earth. And there's this whole big story and prophecy behind someone who can wield the power on Earth. This is going to be for fans of like magic schools. We go into a situation where these kids are learning. I say kids, they're in their early 20s. I'm old now. They go in, they start learning about how to use this magic. Can they use it? And they're being prepped for a war. It's got some vibes of like Tomorrow When the War Began, but also if you like that magic school setting, you're probably going to have a really good time here. The kids are all fairly relatable. Well, you think, me thinking about 10 years ago and what I was like back then and some of the things that I would have done. But I had a really good time with this one as well. And the last one that I'm going to talk about here today was a total mood read. It had been staring at me on my shelves for a very long time, and I finally pulled the plug and went, you know what? Now is the time. And that is Isa or Isa, someone tell me how to pronounce this book correctly, by L.L. McCrae. I know it says L.L., we'll just hide that. L.L. McCrae is the author's name. So this is the fourth book of the World of Lunaria. I can't go too much into detail because it is a book 4. I'm hoping that we get book 4, book 5 and 6, or the combined, whatever that ends up looking like, sometime either this year or early next year, because I can't wait to finish the series. This is a very much a comfort series for me. I adore the writing, I adore the world building. I think it is so accessible for new fantasy readers, and I just fell right back into it. Also, like, bless the author for having the story so far situation at the beginning, because it's been a hot minute since I read book 3, Amara, but I was immediately sucked back into Lunaria. I was immediately sucked back into where these characters were and what they were doing, and the growth that they've had over the past 4 books. So I really loved it. I can't wait to finish off this series. I am hoping to finish it pretty much as soon as it comes out. I'm often on the back burner of things, new and exciting things, but this is one I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for. So those are the 5 things that I read in the month of June. I did start a few things which I finished up in the month of July, but my audio retention was just not great, unfortunately. So I did have to basically put all audio listening aside and just not for the month until my brain could start retaining some information again. So that was it. We are not ashamed of a fairly slow reading month here. In fact, we need to promote more of our slow reading months because life just happens. What did you pick up in the month of June? Let me know in the comments down below. What was your favorite? If you like this content, give one of those. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will, and I will catch you in the next video. Ciao.